Makerspaces are good for all ages and grade levels. They benefit the student in ways that a traditional classroom cannot. Makerspaces do not stop at high school. Some colleges have decided to utilize them as well. They are also referred to as a hackerspace. A makerspace is a place that people can go to share ideas, knowledge, and resources. Makerspaces are places where peers can learn from each other, and at times there may be a more knowledgeable individual present, but it is mainly for peer to peer interaction. Usually they are associated with technology, engineering, computer science, graphic design, or any other STEM project. However, now many times, makerspaces are being associated with different subjects as a way that students are able to learn through hands-on activities. Classes like art, music, history, English, and more are starting to use makerspaces because of the benefits that they provide for students. Makerspaces focus on self-directed learning, meaning that students are forced to take charge of their education and push themselves. Each space or zone also promotes interaction among students, forcing them to ask peers for assistance instead of always turning to the teacher. This will also encourage independence among students, which will help them develop and grow throughout school. Since these makerspaces are used by all faculty, they promote multidisciplinary thinking and learning. By allowing students to learn by crossing disciplines, they are better able to relate to the material and therefore will have a better chance at remembering it and understanding it. Many makerspaces tend to come with a high price tag, which all schools are not able to afford. The equipment in these spaces are extremely advanced and require a lot of maintenance. 3D printers, milling machines, welding equipment, laser cutters, and more. However, not all tools are expensive. The tools that are needed depend on the makerspace. For instance, you would not need a welding machine in a history makerspace. Not only is the equipment expensive, but it will not be able to be used by the students at the same time. Therefore, wait time will increase. Students will end up spending more time waiting to use a machine instead of actually expanding their minds and ideas. This excessive wait time defeats the purpose of using and having a makerspace. The machines also come with heavy liability, making it hard to leave students alone to completely learn together. Some high schoolers will be able to be left alone, but only with the proper practice. However, younger students should never be left alone with this equipment. Since the supervisor will need to constantly be present, student-to-student interaction may decrease because they will always have a teacher that they can turn to. Makerspaces provide authentic, meaningful work on a daily basis, which causes a higher level of engagement, which leads to deeper learning. Deeper learning is needed to get a job today and be an active participant in civic life. There are 6 deeper learning competencies that makerspaces help children and students master. They are able to master core academic content, critical thinking and problem solving, collaboration, effective communication, self-directed learning, and developing an academic mindset. Each of these are present in makerspaces, although they may not be present all at once. By constantly using makerspaces, students will be able to reach all 6 of these. Makerspaces make students active participants in their education, which promotes student engagement, and they become excited about what they are learning. Learning through doing and hands-on learning is known to keep students much more interested and in turn fosters the students' commitment to their learning because they are finally moving away from the everyday and mundane lectures. Since makerspaces encourage collaboration, invention, radical participation, and self-reliance, students will be able to grow and develop as a person, becoming more and more independent and no longer relying on administrators or adults. High school makerspaces are not much different than any other makerspace found in an elementary school or middle school. Each makerspace promotes the same important attributes that every student needs to learn and grow. The major difference is that high school makerspaces have more advanced equipment. They tend to use more advanced machinery because by high school it is expected that students are much more mature and responsible. Some machines that they have are laser cutters, vinyl cutters, metal and woodworking tools, robotics technologies, and more. There are even instances that makerspaces are used as a means to combat grief. One high school used the space to allow students to grieve about the death of a peer. In the space, students would be able to talk to one another or make buttons for the upcoming school events to support her after the tragedy. Makerspaces are not limited to STEM subjects. They also benefit STEAM subjects. They are also good to use when it comes to the arts, from music to dance to drawing. Materials for this type of makerspace will tend to be cheaper, which is more of a reason that every school should use them. Students will love these spaces even if there are only markers and paper. In these spaces, students could draw, do origami, weave, implement dance into other disciplines, make instruments from cardboard, and more. By setting up an area with famous paintings, students are encouraged to think critically about each painting and share their ideas with one another. This helps them to form opinions and understand the opinions of others. To make a language arts makerspace requires a lot of creativity because of how far away it is from the STEAM subjects. One excellent way to use a makerspace in an English class is to make the students' writing come alive. A 6th grade language arts teacher did just that. Once the students finished reading a book, they each had a literary term that they had to study. With the knowledge from the book and the literary term, the students had to make them come alive. This creation could be anything that properly represented what they had been studying. When they reflected on themselves in the project, this fostered student learning because they were looking back at their work and explaining it to their classmates, showing that they were knowledgeable. With this, they also engaged in student-to-student learning. History makerspaces are not commonly used, mainly because history seems like a textbook subject that is filled with notes, lectures, and worksheets. Minecraft is the main attribute to a history makerspace. Many teachers will use it when teaching the medieval and Renaissance eras because of the time period the program is in. Students are able to become fully engrossed in the time period by seeing how people dress, the culture, and by building their own communities and castles. This creativity will bring the lesson to life and make students excited to learn about and understand the time period. Anyone can make a makerspace. How they are made and implemented is up to the creativity of the teacher. No two makerspaces are alike, which is why they are beneficial to students and promote creativity. Before you make a makerspace, it is important to understand what they are and be previously exposed to them. Next, you need to build a team of people. Makerspaces take a lot of work and money, and one person cannot do it on their own. You need to know what you are buying and how much everything will cost. Some things may be too expensive, and it is necessary to budget correctly. Make sure your students have easy access to the supplies. Just by providing the necessary materials will get students involved and excited about learning. Always challenge your students with the spaces. Push them as they push themselves, but make sure that these challenges are not easy. Make them think and ask each other questions. Integrate the makerspace into your everyday curriculum. You made it, put it to good use. Remember that makerspaces make learning fun, so have fun making it. Your students will enjoy it and so will you. By creating a makerspace, you are encouraging self-reliance, collaboration, and so much more.